Alrighty, team. A few weeks ago, I talked about the 6 types of working genius. Now, this has been something that's been around for a long time, but I only just got made aware of it recently. And so I dove into the audiobook and I listened to the audiobook on a few runs that I went on. I did research on the topics, research into every aspect of it, essentially, to really understand myself personally, but then also the business. And so today, we had the privilege of diving into this in our organization and addressing the three co-founders in our business. So myself, Amy, and Dean. And it was super enlightening, and I'm so glad we did it. It's like my shoulders felt relaxed. I feel like this massive relief. Awesome process to go through. So I want to just give you guys a quick update and keen to hear if you've gone through this in your organization and what you've felt and what the outcome is. And so the 6 types of working genius is wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And it took me a while to understand this because words is not really my thing. And so I use ChatGPT to really understand the meaning behind them and how do you relate that to business. So you might already get it straight away, but it took me a while to dig into this. And off the back of today's session, so 2 things we focused on. One was ourselves personally, and we rated ourselves. So we spent a fair bit of time, an hour and a half on this, and we rated ourselves on the 6, and we used different scenarios to come up with, essentially we put a 1 to 6 against all items. We rated ourselves, and then we got each other to rate each other, and we essentially were able to say, yep, you're exactly this. And then we pinpoint into what your strengths are, your skills, and what your passion is, and make sure those were aligned, because sometimes that's not always aligned, right? And so that was really cool to go through. And then we pinpointed a project. So we do all sorts of AI automation projects, but we pinpointed a standardized project that essentially has standard task that we must always do to achieve it, which is our BPI, business process improvement project. And so we're able to then dive into that, and then we rated those the numbers. Let's call it 1 to 6. Wonder being 1, tenacity being 6, and we numbered each of the tasks against we've got about 30-40 tasks in that particular project. So we numbered all them, and then we, thanks to ChatGPT these days, we're able to put our results of when we numbered ourselves into ChatGPT and go, cool, can you match the 2 together and tell us where we should be focused on and what tasks should we be doing? And it was like mind-blowing, because we realized that we've been doing tasks that are, 1, not our skill or our strength, and 2, definitely not our passion. But because it's like when you're doing, in our case, when you're doing a particular project with a client, you want to see it from the very start to the very end. It's just typically what you do when it's a very standardized project and it's a fixed project, right? You've got the relationship, you're diving into all the detail, you really want to pull the business apart, put it back together again. It's kind of like a review process that we go through, and so that just makes sense, right? Organically just makes sense. But when you dive into this process and you do the exercise we did today, you're like, that's the completely wrong way you should be doing this, and not for the outcome of the client. The client always gets an amazing outcome. It usually just takes us longer, and we get our energy is not there at the end, because sometimes these go for 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Like they're not a quick 2-week project. They're usually a long-term project. And now we know why, because there's certain tasks in the project that are completely opposite ends. So, for example, some of the tasks are wonder, which is Dean's strength, but then some of the tasks that you need to do is tenacity, which is Amy's strength. But we're doing it's complete opposite of who we are as a person, right? And so we're doing tasks that actually aren't even us. And so that was super interesting. I just loved going through that. So this is the beginning of the process. We'll dive into this over the next few weeks. We're going to start essentially every task that we're going to do for every project, start calling it out, what type of working genius is it, number it, and then start working on the basis of, well, who should be doing that in the organization. So far it's just us 3. We haven't done this with the team. We just want to do a bit of a silo mini project first, just to see where this ends up, and then we'll nut this out with the whole team later on. Where I think that the massive aha moment was, and when I felt my shoulders drop and the overwhelm just disappear, was around the CEO role of the organization. All this, I've essentially been a CEO of multiple organizations over the years, and definitely the face of multiple companies over the years, right? And I've always felt pressure. And I've always felt pressure of coming up with new ideas, creating the plan, getting everyone motivated to come along with the journey and the plan. And you're the CEO. That's your job, right? Essentially that's what I've understood and perception in the market, and that's just how it is. Today completely changed my entire mind and just eliminated all my overwhelm like immediately. Like second it happened that we spent about 3 hours on this. The second it happened, I was like, oh, I felt this massive relief, because once we figured out our strengths and our weaknesses, or what we love to do and what we don't like to do, I knew exactly, well, we all knew where exactly our skills and passions lie. And for that aspect of being a CEO, creating the new ideas and creating all the plan and the structure and getting everyone along the journey to do it, it's like, that's not all. The entire component of all that is not who I am. I'm not amazing at that, and actually I don't want to do it. It's not my passion. But I didn't realize that. I've always thought that's who I was meant to be, so I have to do that. And so for me, it's galvanizing, enablement, and wonder, in that order, not the other way around. So essentially, I could do 80% of my, 70% of my week in the galvanizing state, which is around inspiring others, rallying others, bringing everyone along for the ride, making sure that we're all following the plan or the idea, like really that, just making sure that everyone is on board, and the inspiration, right? Just being that inspiration around whether it's a project or an idea or a concept, or just being that inspiration. And the other, percentage of the week would be around the enablement. So once we've rallied the team together, we then need to make sure that we're supporting and assisting everyone to achieve their goals in that, right? So it's like that motivation. So you're inspiring everyone for the goal, the vision, but then you're also kind of like inspiring them on a daily, weekly basis to achieve the mini goals or the mini task. And so that there is essentially my superpower. And that's what I need to be focused on. And then my third one, which is not, I need to realize that I don't need to do this too often, but it's wonder. And this is where you probably normally would think where I am, which is asking the big questions, what are the possibilities. I always ask why, and it pisses a lot of people off. Why this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it this way? Why are you not doing it this way? So like the potential improvement inside your organization, the potential improvement in the economy, the potential improvement in humanity, the wonder. Now that wonder for me after today is like, that should be 10%, 20%, a small portion of my time, not 80, 90%, because it actually exhausts me if I do too much of it. And so this has been a super interesting internal realization today. And I'm so glad I've gone through this. I don't know where this was the last 10, 20 years of my life, but I'm so glad that I found it now. And I can't wait for us to see what this outcome is over the next 2-3 weeks, and really understand how this will roll out and what the uptick I guess I'm expecting to see, and motivation and happiness and fulfillment from everyone in the organization, because we're essentially going to be playing in our strengths and our skills and our passion, and essentially removing stuff that just really drags us down. So yeah, watch your space, keen for your input as well, but I will keep everyone posted. Cheers guys, happy Friday, and enjoy.